Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the best 25 hypercharges which you need to buy right now. So whether it's with gems, whether it's with coins, you should probably buy every single one on this list. Of course, there's some that are better than others, which we'll dive into when we talk about them. But let's just go and start off with it. So first of all, you should be buying the Dynamite Hypercharge. Dynamite Hypercharge is so good. It's been out for a very long time now, so I bet a lot of people have got it, but it's just an automatic team wipe. It just deals so much damage. The additional bombs that split out after the super as well charges next super, so you're just going to be able to take out team wipe so many people, especially with demolition star power as well. You must buy it. Next up, you must buy Rico's Hypercharge. So with Rico's Hypercharge, it just extends the amount that his super bounces, and this can be very, very good on some really toxic Rico maps. I know this is one of the best hypercharges in the game for sure, because everybody just has been complaining about it for months and months now. It got a slight nerf for the last update, but it's still one of the best hypercharges in the game. You can get it before you get free super. Next we have Penny's Hypercharge. So with Penny's Hypercharge, her turret will shoot out 2 cannonballs instead of 1, and this is so good for aerial denial. It might not always hit the opponent, but it's just really good in like hot zone, gem grab, heist as well. If you can lock the Penny turret onto the safe, it's really annoying. It also got nerfed a little bit in terms of super charge rate, but still you get it within 3 supers, so it's very, very effective. So you have Stu's Hypercharge. So with Stu's Hypercharge, you get infinite supers, which is insane. It's really good for just being able to travel across the map, but especially paired with his gas to heal star power, you can go from near enough death to full HP through literally the whole Hypercharge, and you can just decimate people with it. You get it quite quickly as well. You know, I'm chaining at least 2 to 3 Hypercharges a game with this. It's one of the best, absolutely. So we have Frank's Hypercharge. So with Frank's Hypercharge, he will super in a full circle, which there's some gaps in the Hypercharge super, but most of the time you're going to be able to hit somebody. But the reason why it's so good is because you can charge this for the tank trait, and of course with Frank, you're going to be taking a lot of damage, and it also, you get this Hypercharge before you get your second super, I believe, which is just insane. You're going to cycle like 3, 4, 5 Hypercharges in a game, and even the stat boosts alone just make this such a good Hypercharge. Next we have a new Hypercharge with B's Hypercharge. So with her next super, it will fly out a second time, so you're basically going to cover like the whole map. I've been hitting people around walls really easily with this Hypercharge. You know, I'm literally slowing the entire team, and you know how annoying a B slow is, but on top of that, it's the damage boost that you get with it. You can be like 6k hitting people with this Hypercharge. It's just absolutely insane. It's one of the reasons why B is so good in the meta. It's nothing like game breaking, but it's at least like a B A tier Hypercharge. Really, really recommend buying. Next we have Ash's Hypercharge. So with his Hypercharge, he will spawn out 10 rats instead of 5, and this can be very good into the matchups that sometimes might counter Ash, you know, for example like Surge or other tank counters. You can be easily overwhelmed if they've got no pierce on their enemy team. Also, you get the stat boost on top of this. You cycle this really quickly, 2 supers as well. It's got to be one of the best. Next we have Mandy's Hypercharge. So another new Hypercharge, and it's actually incredibly strong. Of course, it's going to be better in like knockout and bounty, but even the damage boost alone makes it so effective. You're going to be able to one-shot so many more of the meta brawlers in bounty and knockout. And again, you can also get some really cool clips in like Brawl, gem grab, in other situations as well, because those 3 supers can sometimes be really good, sometimes pretty bad, but I think it's one of the better Hypercharges for sure. Now we're going to move on to probably the second best Hypercharge in the game, or maybe even number 1. It is Hank's Hypercharge. So with Hank's Hypercharge, it automatically homes onto players. So this is going to be a lot more effective on more open maps, or if you have a wall breaker on your team. So especially in Brawl Overtime or Brawl Hockey Overtime, it's literally a win button. You pop the purple button, you pop the yellow button, and you team wipe automatically. You don't even have to do a single thing. It's absolutely busted. Of course, it's not the best on the close maps, but you can still get a lot of value with it. And also, Hank has the tank trait. You automatically charge the Hypercharge through taking damage as well. You get it within like 2.4 supers, so yeah, it's absolutely busted. You need to buy this. Next we have Mortis's Hypercharge. So Mortis's Hypercharge, his super will fly back to him, so dealing double the damage. You kind of use this like a sniper, and you can just chain this like easily. If you've got the mythic gear and if you just hit 2 opponents, you can cycle through to another super, and that's why Mortis can just get team wipe after team wipe. The biggest struggle is getting it, because it takes about 2.4 supers to get the Hypercharge super, but again, it's absolutely broken. So we have Berry's Hypercharge. So Berry's Hypercharge, he will fly out 2 lots of supers instead of 1, effectively covering a lot more of the map. But the reason why this is so good is, again, through Berry, you get your Hypercharge through taking damage essentially. So if you're taking damage and you're throwing a puddle on the floor, and you're charging up your Hypercharge because you're healing yourself. And again, your teammates are going to be taking a lot of damage, so you're going to be able to cycle through like 2-3 Hypercharges in one game, and it's so much healing, especially in a hot zone. People just can't do anything about it. It has to be one of the best Hypercharges in the game. Now moving on to probably the best Hypercharge in the game right now, it is Mr. P's Hypercharge. So it's absolutely dumb broken right now. Mr. P, without the Hypercharge, he still probably is an F tier, maybe a D tier brawler at a stretch. But with this Hypercharge, absolutely S tier broken. Again, this purple button will win you the game automatically. Just throw this turret really far back into spawn, and the pressure that it applies is just absolutely bizarre. The portals just spawn and just fly up the map really fast, and then once that dies, there's going to be another one spawning in a couple of seconds. So it's just unlimited porters, unlimited chaos. It doesn't matter what brawler you're using, the porters are going to overwhelm you eventually. It's just broken. We have loose Hypercharge, so even with the slight Hypercharge rate nerf last update, it's still one of the best. Absolutely, it's an instant freeze. So if you just fly this onto literally anyone, it's a guaranteed kill every single time. The only thing that can counter it is Poco's gadget, but still outside of that, yeah, there's nothing you can really do. You're going to get this super Hypercharge super pretty quickly as well, and it's just a game changer. You can do this to, you know, kill the gem carrier, for example. You can do this to team wipe. It's just so effective and one of the best Hypercharges. It always will be. So now moving to one of the best Hypercharges in the game right now, we have Janet's Hypercharge. So with her Hypercharge, you only get it with 2 supers, which is insane, and you can fully control Janet whilst using this Hypercharge super. The reason why this is so good is because you're going to easily land 2, 3, 4 maybe bombs with the Hypercharge, and of course you got the damage boost on top of that, and you're just able to get 3 kills every single time. So yeah, you're cycling like 3, 4 of these in a game, and you're going to get 3 kills in a game. So of course it's absolutely broken. So now moving into another S tier Hypercharge, we have Melodies. So with Melodies Hypercharge, you gain an additional 3 notes every single time you dash. You gain a note, and the reason why this is so broken is because it combines with her shield gadget, it combines with her star power fast beat, so you go even faster, a bigger shield. Of course that's really broken as well, and it's pretty much again just a purple button team wipe. So you might struggle in some matchups, but it doesn't matter. Once you get the purple button, you're just going to destroy literally everybody, especially the high safe as well. That is just gone. Yeah, Melody, the reason why she's S tier is because of this Hypercharge. Next Hypercharge you should absolutely buy is Max's Hypercharge. So even with the Hypercharge rate nerf, it's still one of the best. Absolutely, just mechanically it's so broken in pro play. So what you want to do is group up when you use this Max Hypercharge, and all 3 members on the team will get a 75% charge to their super. Of course, this is absolutely broken, especially if you make some really cool plays. For example, if someone uses their Hypercharge super and then you pop your Hypercharge super, they can near enough cycle another Hypercharge super, if that makes sense. There's just so many ways to mess around with this Hypercharge. It absolutely is S tier. Next we have Maisie's Hypercharge. So Maisie's Hypercharge is really, really good at getting team wipes. You combine the Hypercharge super with the gadget and you're just bound to get a couple of kills against tanks especially. You can cycle it pretty quickly as well. To begin with, it may not look like a good Hypercharge, but trust me, it can deal and rack up so much damage. We have Piper's Hypercharge. With Piper's Hypercharge, you drop more bombs where you first jump, and then wherever you land, you also break the terrain and knock back the opponent. So you can make some really aggressive plays with this. What I like to do a lot of the time, again, is just jump onto like a weaker opponent that's of course not going to have some really big burst damage. You knock them back, and by the time you've knocked them back, you can probably get a couple of shots in and just absolutely destroy them. I also just like it again just to break up as much terrain as possible, because of course that's what you want to do with Piper. Open up the map and you're going to be able to hit the opponents easier. So yeah, I really like the Hypercharge. So we have Edgar's Hypercharge. So with Edgar's Hypercharge, when you use your Hypercharge super, you gain your super back at a quicker rate, and you have a reload speed buff, of course only for 5 seconds. But without this, Edgar probably is one of the worst brawlers in the game. He really relies off this to try and get some like team wipe moments. I still don't think it's nowhere near as good as it used to be, because before the Hypercharge duration used to be extended for the damage, so this used to be broken in the past, but it's still really good, and again without it he'll be terrible. Next up we have Buzz's Hypercharge. So with his Hypercharge super, you get infinite hooks and you get the stun as long as you're hitting the hook onto a wall. But the reason why this is so good, you can just pretty much get a free kill onto anybody you want as long as you don't miss one of the hooks onto the wall. You can literally fly across the map as well if you're quick enough, you have good enough ping. You can make some really good plays with this as well. It's one of the main reasons why Buzz is even like okay in the meta, and you also charge this Hypercharge through his circle as well. So a big reason why it's so good. So we have Leon's Hypercharge. So with his Hypercharge super, he can stay invisible even when he's shooting. So of course this is really, really broken mechanically. The biggest drawback is that sometimes it can take a little while to charge it up. I think it's around 3 supers, but still it makes it one of the best Hypercharges in the game, because with the damage boost, speed boost, you're able just to obliterate any player that you want to. it's still really strong. Next up, we have Sandy's Hypercharge. So with Sandy's Hypercharge Super, it gives your team a speed boost for 10 seconds, the whole duration of the Sandy Super, and also mutes people upon impact for I think like half a second or something. But it's just absolutely broken because you can really overwhelm the opponents. And again, having a Hypercharge Super for 10 seconds on the map, of course, most brawlers only have a 5-second Hypercharge, so already it's really good for that reason. It only takes like 2 supers and a little bit to charge the Hypercharge Super, and it just equates to complete map control with this, and you do it really fast as well with that speed boost. So we have Nita's Hypercharge. So with Nita's Hypercharge, you spawn a much bigger and beefier Bruce Bear, and the reason why it's good, I mean, it doesn't like equal a lot of kills, but it just amounts to wasting a lot of opponents' ammo. And the big reason why it's actually one of the best is because it only takes 2 supers to charge his Hypercharge Super. So the really fast charging Hypercharges are going to be some of the better ones because you're just going to make more of an impact. And again, if you pop a Hypercharge Bruce Bear with the shield gadget as well, the opponents are just not killing that any time soon. Only 10 shots to hit charge this as well. It's just absolutely insane. Moving into the final Hypercharge I recommend buying, it's going to be Colette's Hypercharge. So specifically in Heist, you want to use this 25% to the Heist safe. All it does is got a little Colette clone that follows you. But the reason why this is so good as well is because if you hit an opponent, you know, instead of just getting a half of your supercharge back, you can get a full supercharge back. So you can just turn it into a super spamming machine and just get loads of team wipes. So yeah, definitely one of the better Hypercharges in the game. So that's going to be it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know whether I missed out on any Hypercharges on the list, and I'll see you guys next time.